I have two unanimous consent requests. I don't start my clock yet. One is, I really believe, and perhaps I'm overly sensitive to this, but that Mr. Pruitt's integrity has been put into question with the accusations of contributions to his campaign. I'd like to keep in mind that the oil industry is a huge industry in my state of Oklahoma. They have things called PACs where the middle income people will say, yes, we are, they've supported me also. But I think we need to have in the record that there are some things that are going on that should not be going on. And this affects the Democrats and not the Republicans. There's a guy named Tom Steyer, and I'm going to put this in the record, who actually said he was going to put $100 million into campaigns of individuals talking about the global warming and what he expected. In 2016, he didn't do that. He only put in, 14, $75 million of his own money. In 2016, he was the largest contributor, putting in $86 million of his own money. I'm not going to read this because it does reflect the names of people who are at this dais. I ask that this unanimous consent that this be
without objection
on the record. The other thing,
reserving the right to object. Let me just ask for a clarification from my friend from Oklahoma. The monies that you're referring to, were those donations that were disclosed, fully disclosed?
oh yes, I believe there were.
Then that does not sound like dark money to me.
Well, it's all right. Anyway, on the last question that Mr. Pruitt had concerning the earthquakes, I'd like to make this a part of the record because it will surprise you guys that the Oklahoma Corporation Commission has really focused in on this thing and talked about this is wastewater and disposal wells that we're concerned with. They clamped down on it, and you're exactly right in your response to the question, except you didn't go far enough. In 2016, they actually reduced the earthquakes by 31%. And so we are doing in the state of Oklahoma something that is we've been complimented about the fact that we are taking these actions. So I'd like to make this as a
without
part
objection
of the record. Now, the other thing I want to bring out, and I've done this before, but I wasn't going to do it until people kept talking about the science is settled, the science is settled, the science is settled. And I know that people want to believe that. But I remember so well, yeah, go ahead and start the clock, that's fine. I remember so well.
We just want to make sure that the clock doesn't just get stopped for the Republicans and runs for us.
You are alert, I'll say that to my friend. Anyway, I can remember when I was going to go over to every year the UN has a big party and they invite everyone to come in and I was going to go to Copenhagen to be the one-man truth squad, which I did, and I went over there. But during that time, right before I left, I asked the administrator of the EPA, the job that you're, I believe, going to have, Lisa Jackson, I said, I have a feeling once I leave town, you're going to come up with an endangerment finding, and you're going to give you justification for getting involved in this issue. And she smiled so I could tell it was true. And I said, when you do this, it has to be based on science. Tell me the science that you are going to use for this. And she said, well, the IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Now, as luck would have it, my luck, not theirs, right after that is when ClimateGate came. And that's when it was disclosed that the individuals, the scientists in IPCC, rigged the numbers and came up with such an outrageous lie in terms of what causes global warming, all of that. And I'll just read a couple of them here. One of the physicists in the IPCC said ClimateGate was a fraud on a scale I've never seen before. Clive Cook with the Financial Times said the closed-mindedness of these supposed men of science is surprising even to me. The stink of intellectual corruption is overpowering. And the UK Telegraph, that's one of the largest in the UK publications, they said it's the worst scientific scandal of our generation. Now, nobody talks about that. But that's the science that they are talking about, and I really believe it's necessary to have that as a part of this record, of this meeting. Now, General Pruitt, in 2012, the EPA and the National Highways Traffic Safety Administration issued updated fuel economy standards that were the result of a compromise, and that compromise was between the Obama administration, the automakers, and the state of California, right? And the part of this deal required a review of these regulations in 2018 before, and these are their words, not mine, before any new standards were put in place. After losing the election, however, the Obama administration broke the deal by prematurely issuing new regulations. This decision was made unexpectedly and well over a year before the EPA said that they'd make the determination. This shortened the time frame and process is concerning. So, Mr. Chairman, I do ask unanimous consent that the previous EPA timeline for the expected action on the midterm review be included in the record.
Without objection.
And Attorney General Pruitt, as administrator, will you look into this matter to see whether this extreme action was appropriate or a hasty political decision?
Senator, as you indicated, the obligation was to meet the November 2008 midterm review, 2018 midterm review, and I think the study that was completed was finished December 30th, and they issued their findings within 14 days. That time period is something I'm not sure that normally happens as far as the time, the velocity of 14 days, but it merits review, and I would review that. Yes.
Well, the follow-up question would be, would you commit to sitting down with the Transportation Secretary, Elaine Chao? And I've already talked to her about this, incidentally. So both of them will be confirmed, I'm convinced, and you're working to address the impacts of the EPA's decision on automobile manufacturers and consumers.
Yes,
You
sir.
worked with her on that, in that issue?
Absolutely.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Booker.